Italy, and Florence, Alessandra Barbieri from the European Projects and Smart Cities and 100 Climate Neutral Cities for the Municipality of Florence, will talk us through the mobility in Florence and how to manage the territory to improve flows from the less of the UNCHAIN project. So, Alessandra, over to you.
Yeah, many thanks, Melina, and thanks for the invitation of the city of Florence. We take the opportunity to present the work that is ongoing under the UNCHAIN project. Next slide, please. That is based on the sustainable mobility with focus on the freight evolution, let me say. Just a few words about the city of Florence. As you know, it is a UNESCO site, and that means that we have a lot of boundaries, let me say, when you start to work on mobility, especially taking into account the city center. That is our focus area because it's the place in which the sustainable management of the mobility, including freight, at the main impact, and we have to take into account the cultural heritage, insisting on the territories and give us a sort of suggestion, taking into account also the management plan of the UNESCO site. Next slide, please. Taking into account the territory and the vision that we had in making the city sustainable and climate neutral, we take since lots of years ago some commitments closer to the idea to stay in align to the goals of the commissions of the European Union that was meaning to be the first global neutral area by 2050. That's why we start with our smart city plan, close to the idea to go through the Sustainable Energy Action Plan and then the Sustainable Energy and Climate Plan that together with our Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan and Logistic Plan gave us the opportunity to move towards our climate city contract, then moving from our first target that was the reduction of emission of 21% until the one expected at 2030, that is 81% in 2030 plus the action for the compensation about 19%. It's quite a long story that were aligned also to the result of our inventory missions, in which since the beginning at the 0 year that was 2005 was meaning the mobility sector at the main impactful in the cities with about 34% of the mission. That's why we were focusing a lot on mobility, on sustainable mobility, and that's why we were very happy to be on board on a UNCHAIN project that is focusing on freight, that is our, let me say, last mile, not only in terms of territory, but also in terms of vision and commitment. Next, please. Following the idea to work on mobility, our starting point is the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan that has been approved in 2021 at metropolitan level, following the national law that is expected to have the sustainable, the SUMP at metropolitan level, because of course mobility is something that is not just within the territory of the city, so it was very helpful for us, considering also that we have about 1,050 people, city user, commuters moving towards the city, and we are about 3,060 inhabitants. So 1/3 is just coming in the city. So for us, it's very relevant to have a management tool looking at a broader area than the municipal one. And within our sustainable urban mobility plans, we have some information giving the way in which go from planning to action, which, as you can see, there's some very interesting things close also to freight, taking into account, for instance, the interchange hubs, but also the idea of low emission zones, especially for the city center, in which we have to manage the entrance, especially of the most polluting vehicles close to the freight solution. Next, please, starting from the results of our Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. We thought about the way in which we can trigger a virtuous circle in which the main issues is in reducing the emission, to reduce the use of private cars and, generally speaking, to private vehicles, go through the idea of mainly public transport, and considering, let me say, the idea of the freight, in trying to find the way in reducing the congestions and increasing the way on using at the best the public spaces. That's under the umbrella, let me say, of road price system that is giving us the opportunity to reduce the entrance in favor of sustainable means, vehicles, and behavior, let me say. Next, please, how we can move and give the functionality of the vision of sustainable cities, trying to manage the best the territory. The idea is to have this road price, let me say, system that is under the Green Shield system, that it's meaning the progressive introduction of prohibition and or cost for assessing the urban center, well balanced with a concurrent increase in the offers of the supply. That means that not only the already existing limited access zone, that is the city center, will be interesting in this Green Shield system, but enlarge it to the whole municipal territories in order to be able to manage at the best the entrance of the vehicles. Next, please. Following our Green Shield system policy, the idea is, of course, to reduce the most polluting vehicles, forbidden their entrance, and taking into account the origin destination, especially for the heavy-duty vehicles, that the one also most interested in the freight circulation, but also in taking into account the touristic buses that are a lot of polluting within the area, trying then to avoid that entrance or to manage it at the best. The idea is to start with the most polluting vehicles, go through the traditional one, and now just the 4th April of this year, some days ago, we started the second phase, that means in reducing the entrance of the most vehicle polluting. We are, of course, referring to the very old one. We are talking about Euro 1, Euro 0, Euro 1, that are mainly not already, let me say, on the road, but still we have some examples. So we start also for the private vehicles to limit it. With all this idea, next slide, please, we move towards the idea in finding the best way to use the public space, because in Florence we have the area that has mixed use for the freight, but also for the private vehicles. So we have to find a way in which we can use this parking area following the needs, of course, of both of the categories. In matching the needs and mapping and identifying what are the needs, we are using our smart city control room, that is not only a physical place, as you can see from the images, but it's also a big data platform, of course, in which we find the way to have all the good data coming, of course, from the municipality, but also from the all relevant stakeholders and actors, that within an agreement we are able to have in just one platform, trying to see in this cooperative space how we can use it the best, and also trying to find to organize the best the use of the cities from all the stakeholders and the users, the public concessionaires, in following the idea of the business to government data sharing space, giving a relevance then to the public interest. Next, please. And this, it is needed to have also the opportunity in release information for people that are in the city, are moving in the city, are using the city. And to keep informed the one in which are using the cities, we release this application that is Info Mobility Florence, that is, by the way, also our tools for the mobility as a service, in which you can find all the information related to the Florence city in real time. Of course, you have all the information referring to the public transport, but also all the information referring to the services, to accidents, but also the opportunity to have the free places in the area, and then give us the opportunity to scale up the information already provided, also taking the opportunity for the freight logistic operators to use it as a tool for better use the organization of their flow within the city, mainly the city center, of course. Next, please. With this old information, we move from the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plans to the Sustainable Urban Logistic Plan. This is something that is quite recent, as you've been seen, has been approved as part of the SUMP in a couple of years ago, but now we are moving from the metropolitan one to the local one. Let me say specifically referring to Florence. We're starting with the existing information, very close to the accessibility to the city center, moving through the idea to find a way to have an approach that is based on the quality system. That means not only have a collaboration with the stakeholders, mainly referring, of course, to the freight providers, but also have the way in which, giving the opportunity to release at the best the service, we will have a quality service for the one that are releasing, for the one that are receiving. Next, please. With this goal of reducing the system, moving towards a good freight system, we arrive to UNCHAIN. That's here we are. But it's very relevant for us also give you the vision, the reason why we take part, we apply to take part of the consortium of UNCHAIN. The UNCHAIN is a way to use the best the territories, very close to the logistics system and based on the sharing the data. And it's based also on a collaboration of the public administration, then the public need that is representing also the need of the citizens, together with the private interest that is represented not only by the freight operators, but also logistic operators, sorry, but also from all the hotel, restaurant, all the activities that are in the territories that are requesting, asking from logistic solution, responding the needs. That's the way in which we start to work on it, taking into account that the policy that we are going to follow to find the best solution should be as a main goal, the one referring to the climate neutrality that we are working with. Next, please. With the UNCHAIN, we have then the opportunity, first of all, to find a core area in which try and test the tools developing within the project. In our case, the area is within the city center, and it is in the historical center of the Florence. That is the one that is suffering the most pressure of density in terms of the presence of commercial activities, but also of demand of freight, of course, and is close to the Mercato Sant'Ambrogio. That is also an area in which, close to the market, have the doubling, let me say, of the need, because the market is a stable one. So it's something that is open 7 days per week. So we are trying to find a solution that will be accomplished the area in which the interest is higher than other area. Next, please. we then provide within the Florence laboratory some use case. We have three main areas in which we are working in. One is about the urban planning and services, then to find a way to manage, identify the best urban consolidation center definition that within the market will test how we can use the best, how we can defend the best area in which this consolidation center will be located. The second main area is to find the place in which services are good, that means efficient, but also safe for the operation that are relating, then optimize the delivery and pickup routes, defining the best way, the best zone in which the area could be interested by this area, and identifying the routes to be followed to minimize the risk of accident. The third area is the one related to the advanced services for monitoring and communication, that is mainly close to the active UVARs and the city regulation. We will find a way not only to test the best way to release the service, but also to find a sort of rewarding in order to incentivize also the logistic operators to find the best solution, also taking into account the reward that can come in also in terms of economic solution, if you are respectful when you are, for instance, reserving the area for the pickup and delivery. Next slide, please. How we can translate, let me say, in practice, thanks to UNCHAIN project, this pilot test. First, using the planning tools. The planning tools, it's help us not only in finding the best way in which located this urban consolidation center in the city center. And the second one is helpful in find the way in which visualize and decide then which are the area in which we can find the potential zones in which having this loading system, and then find a way to manage through some application the best way to make the reservation on it based on specific criteria. Next slide, please. The second tool that we are developing is referring to the dynamic management of facilities through several instruments and tools. We are mainly focused on the dynamic curbside management, the dynamic pickup and drop-off points, and the management of the use, the space located for this logistic solution in real time. That will help us not only in finding the best solution, but also in releasing better services for logistic operator, for the one the logistic operator are working with, because the idea is to enlarge the number of hours that actually are available for the logistic operator during the day to release the services, because we already have a sort of authorization for people that is releasing the freight system, but is just in the morning from 6 to 10. And theoretically, from 10 to the day after, you should not be able to get in the city center for freight delivery. Of course, you can have some exceptions, but the idea is to enlarge the number of hours in order to reduce the polluting, the congestion that is coming in the first 4 hours of the morning. Next slide, please. That are the main issues that we are trying to manage to use at the best our street, that, by the way, have a particular pavement, so it's not easy neither to use some sensor or some decision. So we want to be really respectful also for the place in which the solution is located, keeping in mind some keywords in taking all our decisions. The first is to work for last greener mile opportunity for both the cities and private. to have an opportunity to work together in a sort of city logistic ecosystem, to take into account our cultural heritage system that needs to meet the climate neutrality, and to have a vision that is not the one of the city, but is of the metro cities. And there's find a business model that help us in finding the solution that will be fine for all the stakeholders that are involved. That's are my main presentation. I just would like to make a sort of link with the previous one coming from the colleagues that is on semantic, let me say, it is on word. My presentation is very close to the one that has been in the previous one, because there's some issues that are common. The first is the identification of the needs and of the area. The second is the mapping. It is needed to map, to have data to take the good decision. The third is the collaboration with the stakeholder. It is needed to have a collaboration from public and private. And the third one is a business model that works for the private, but also for the public one. Many thanks.
Thank you, Alessandra. Indeed, the puzzle is puzzling in Florence. It raises a lot of questions how you manage to operate in such a dense touristical area like Florence is, and an attraction for thousands of people every day. And I see the communalities with Thessaloniki and the disco elements, but also Florence is one of a kind in the world, globally, I would say. So it's very interesting to see how you face this puzzle, and you face these challenges, and you place the puzzle in the right way.